getting back on the Stout, getting Hilux suspension components and everything hung underneath the front. The rear is just normally hanging a regular axle, so that's not too bad. But we have the newer Hilux style ball joints that we are gonna have to make fit inside of the Stout control arm. Shouldn't be too hard. I'm thinking cut this brace out, save it for later just to add it back in, or maybe make our own. But clean this up, try to make a template to hold the ball joint into here, because we want to try to retain this exact plane that everything is on. And then we'll try to fix the steering geometry later, because these steering arms are very different, but that's not too big of a deal because we just want to drive the truck. We'll care about all the important bits later. Alright, now you can see the difference of Hilux and the Stout ball joints, which shouldn't be too hard to get it up right in there. Probably some trimming and some re-bracing for sure, but I think it's gonna go pretty well. And that's pretty damn close to how that one came out. So a little bit of clearance and re-bracing, and then that should fit. And then as for the bottom, it doesn't seem to fit. It's damn near the same. Maybe have to clearance that hole a little bit, but yeah, I think we're just going to have to drill this out a little bit to fit the Hilux. Maybe cone a washer and weld it around it and give it a little bit more of a brace. But as you can see, all those holes line up just as good. So minimal work there to get the bottom ball joint in. Decent amount of work to get this ball joint to get in, but not too bad. So after a little bit of template work and clearing a little bit of these little walls out so I can get a straight on shot in there, we have made two pieces at once, because the other side I can just mirror and flip it. But sits in there up against that little divot for the bump. Take your new Hilux ball joint, slides in there. It slides in there pretty well. It's good enough for a few holes in it. Bang, bada boom. Probably fit a lot better once I separate these two. But I think that's pretty good. Oh, we just knocked out two sides at once. And weld that right in there. Repop those holes, box this in a little bit for some structure. Put the brace, we'll make a cool brace, and we'll put a cool brace over it. And then should be time to hang that after I blend that down. And that's pretty much it. So with a bottom Hilux ball joint, maybe need to like flatten some edges so it fits down against this brace better. And then on the top, like I said, blend it down so it barely opens up this hole enough for that to just sit proudly through and sit up in that race, which I don't know if you can necessarily, it's kind of like a race, but you get what I mean. Goes up in there, see it's in. That thing's sitting pretty proud, but the annoying thing is these holes are just barely offset from these holes, from the ball joint holes to the control arm. Just gonna have to weasel these out a little bit and then probably weld on some thick washers over it to recenter so there's not a bunch of play or anything in it. Because I mean, we're not going for sport mode, we're just going to cruise to the store and whatnot. So that should be good, and then we'll see after I tack all this stuff in and redo a few things. I have this one boxed in and just tacked. It still maintains the original geometry for the most part for the upper control arm, but I'm sure the geometry with the new spindle changes a few things. We'll deal with that after the first test drive. I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. So that's that. Yeah, all right. So I did the way that I really didn't want to do, but I did it anyways because eventually I have plans to make proper hind joint A-arms out of here, but whatever. So I'm gonna wean these out a little bit more. Be fine. So I went ahead and finished it out off camera because it just gets done a lot faster and easier that way. But good overview is I did keep the original ball joint orientation and just re-drilled the holes with my little template piece I made to fit in here to like adapt it to the original control arm. We did cut this original brace out, made our own. Don't have demo dies, but it looks a lot better. And we just braced little pieces hanging out. They didn't weld the inside because I just wanted everything to be flat when it went on. So, and the rest is fairly good. We do have both sides done. Just letting them cool before we hit them with a little bit of paint. And then the bottom side, we did just drill these holes out a little bit bigger with the lower ball joint clamped to it, drilling from the bottom side, so we kept the orientation of the new ball joint. Weaned them out a little bit, put bigger grade 8 hardware in it, and clearance for this little Zerk fitting bit. And then besides that, it should all go together. We might have to do something with the Hilux ball joints because they are a little bit different size in here with the taper, but I'm not sure about the angle, but we'll see about that. I just have this on here just holding it so I can make sure everything works, which seems to, and we'll do brakes and suspension later. Most of the hard part's done, and I did drill holes in the top and bottom to sandwich the middle because I didn't want to put weld in here, so I want it to like sit out the So we got it all burned in, everything's turning. We do have to mess with the stops to give it a little bit more angle, but it all seems fairly well. Got the wheel on there, everything's spinning. All right, so we got the Stout control arms, we have the brace put back in, we have a little adapter plate to house your Hilux upper ball joint, and then weaseled out and grade 8'd the lower ball joint into almost the factory mount for this. It's literally like an 1/8 off or so, so we just punched them out, bolted them up pretty good, and we kept the same orientation and everything. Like this should in theory be sitting like that, so all the ball joint angles aren't all crazy, and then it all should be good. I mean, like with this wheel being straight, that tie rod's fairly dead on. I thought I was going to maybe try to swap these over or cut and re-angle, move that pointer on, but I think we're looking good.